What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the house. I know my schedule's a bit messed up. I had a 24-hour stream, so we're gonna do two market watches in one today. We've got penny stonks, something you guys definitely like. You might have seen a lot of these if you've been in the live streams, as well as market moves that have been happening. But first, I want to address this picture on the screen. I have been sent this more than even when a ban list is out. John, the ban list is out. Go react. John, the ban list is... I have been sent this so many times, and I think people want me to go in on Konami for quality control, and while this basically looks like a fake card, it's haha funny, highest rarity but derpy. I just gotta kind of feel for Konami at this point. They have had all their releases in October shoved back into November, and versus Black Friday, Christmas shopping, and everything, you guys have to budget for that too, but they did it to make sure they could produce as much maximum gold as possible, and I'm hoping that comes with some quality control that is not Toon Chaos like. You have this Charmer structure. Also, it's no longer October 23rd. This is pushed back into November. I think the 20th is the release date. You have Phantom Rage naturally being here in November as well, and then you have Genesis Impact in early December. Budget. If you're going sealed or singles, prepare yourself for what you might be spending and wanting out of these sets. That being said, let's get into today's market watch. And yeah, quality control has been an issue. They should get it together at this point, but it feels like they've had to outlet things to places they usually wouldn't have printing as much of their cards. Like Toon Chaos feels like it's all from one factory period, where usually they could print it in the EU and USA, and maybe those places are getting overloaded, and it's a bad situation. It's not something good as a customer, but I also have to be understanding of the times with Konami, right? Like, I'm not gonna just, oh, you should get those together before ever releasing. It sucks, but these things are going to happen while they have to shift around and try to figure out just how to print cards. The legendary Duelist Rage of Ra has one major price shift today, and that's Ancient Chant. It's spiked on up. Remember, this is a short printed ultra rare. Winged Dragon of Ra alternative art has just been kind of whittling down. We see Egyptian God Slime doing a little bit of a climb, and then the ghost rare for Winged Dragon of Ra has really settled out. So many people demand in the Facebook marketplaces, I want to see a nice, clear, high-res picture of this, because so many of these do have factory errors and scratches out the box, and sellers could be like, well, that's just how I pulled it. No, if it has scratches, it has those errors, you need to be putting it lightly played like an honest seller. So there's so many near mints here, I question how many truly are near mint. I'm not calling out any specific seller there, but if you are a seller, pay close attention to your card's actual condition. You may have bust cases, that kind of stuff. Be honest. Market is light play if it does seem like it's scratched up on the surface. Egyptian God Slime is I think, almost underestimated card at this point. It's a really good kind of stun deck card. I do think it will still be more casual Yu-Gi-Oh! Than competitive overall, but I do like the looks of this card, and I think it's a really good mix of collectability, playability, and I do like it as a long-term keep. Ancient Chant, having its recent bio, I don't know how much it will actually stay up at, if it will fall back down, if it will continue to go back up. We're going to watch this one. I did call, though, that the God card support stuff would be heavily atop the set, and if you want anything else out of here, boy, is it cheap. I think I saw Team APS post on Twitter about 2 boxes and not getting the Jinzo support he wanted. Well, luckily, you only have to spend a couple of bucks, and hey, if you are shopping for some cheap stuff, you can use that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying. But for a lot of these, yeah, just buy the singles. Even if you're talking box prices, while you could have the 1 in 12 chance at Super Shiny Boy here, who is on average 1 out of 12 boxes, it feels like, well, you could just, for a box's price, get all these. Another box's price, get all these. And for pennies on the dollars, get anything else you could possibly want. Metal Reflex Slime has sold out to huge proportions for its holofoil forms. And then it looks like people are also looking at the Battle Pack Starfoil. But the Ultimate Rare has been up. It got bought out originally. It seems like a secondary round of buyouts is going, though. The first editions for the ultis are going, gone. You see one motivated seller. This is motivated, by the way, for the reflex slime here at 12 some odd before it jumps to 16, before you jump up into like the 20s after a couple more 16s. Let's actually look at the first edition ulti real quick. If you have these cards, I probably would suggest actually selling the ultra rares. It's a mid rarity, even though it's still a holo. Let's see, unlim ultis are very reasonable for what they are actually, but everybody wants that first edition stamp, don't they? And the lowest first edition stamped one is $50 freaking dollars before we get into more 50s, so it looks like playsets around that age, and then it jumps quickly towards 70. This is one that you actually can question mark. I think the God Slime is more collectible, but people love their ultimate rares. Phantom Darkness, a very iconic set. This used to basically be a bulk ulti though, and now look where it is. Stonks. Speaking of ultimate rares, Chaos Dragon Levitate got bought out. You can see its market price of 48. It is up towards 59, 60. I've been suggesting this one for a while as its highest rarity because Dragon Link is so prevalent, and this will end up in so many builds. Now, I did have an interesting question from a viewer on Chaos Dragon Levitate and its other forms, because it only has 3 printings. Should I be getting it sooner than later? I think absolutely. It could end up in something like Gold Series or another reprint set, but right now it only has 3 printings, and if you're playing in remote duels, there is time versus money. It's less than $20 for this kind of a playset, and the secret's not looking too terrible in price either, thanks to the ultimate rare copy. Remember, this did not get a mass reprint that we wanted. This is behind a $30 MSRP paywall. I would not compare this to Cyber Dragon Nashor, though, because that's what the viewer asked. And when you compare it to Cyber Dragon Nashor only has 1 printing behind that $30 paywall, while Levitate has its original printing, has a reprint, then has a higher rarity kind of thing to grab towards versus its original printing. When I look at this card, though, it is being so heavily used in the meta as 3-ups, where Nashor had several places in meta gameplay, and is also in a fan-favorite decks like Cyber Dragon, similar to Hero. I don't think it's a one-for-one comparison, just because it ends up in another $30 set. This is something people grab in 3s. I do think this will continue to go up, but you also have the value spread in Duel Overload being so freaking thick between Selene, Anaconda, Union Hanger. There are so many higher cards than it right now, but it's still climbing despite that, and I think it could pass to $10 solid at some point. Number 17 has multiple buyouts. The ultimate rare really went to the moon. It went off the market. People have been looking at the past formats for a bit now. The unlims around 13, but where the first eds at though? Wow, we actually have a couple of relistings. Okay, so some motivated sellers after the listing, and you can see then there's a huge gap. So I haven't fully looked at all my tabs. This is an embarrassing moment for Market Man, but not really. This just shows how fast the market moves. We viewed this on live stream. They were completely bought out. We can kind of catch a cool snapshot here of the first editions where they started undercutting each other in price, and then motivated sellers appearing on a card that won't appear all that often. So I've got to give it to them. Good job on all these motivated sellers coming in and wrecking this price. And that's why you don't buy in right after. You don't freak out. Oh, I missed my opportunity. You wait. You let it chill down, and this is kind of a funny look. Now, the Ghost Rare also went off the market a bit ago. The unlims have come back as life finds a way, but you can see that they're up a bit versus market price, towards 40s almost for the unlims, and the first editions should be around 90 still, I would think. They're not going to chill off as fast as the ultimate rares here, as it is highest rarity rather than a mid rarity. I also really like the OCG ultis of these, and they're pretty cheap if you're in the market for them compared to everything else. Power Tool Dragon I featured on Market Watch already after its initial buyout, but throughout the live streams we've seen so many people shocked, surprised, the commons at over 20. What? Well, it just doesn't have any kind of recent printing, and it's being used in Fire Warrior very prevalently. I like this card a lot. It would be the next Signer Dragon to ever get banned, along with Ancient Fairy Dragon if one were to get banned. That's a funny conversation, right? Not Black Rose, not Stardust, it's this. But Power Tool Dragon is really doing good in this metagame, and you just don't have a recent printing. OTS pack win, Konami. It is missing a super rare, isn't it? We have an Ultra, we have a Common, we have an Ulti, a Secret, a Ghost. super win, Konami, OTS 15. Also, I wanted to point this out. This was something I considered as a penny stonk way back in the day. It never really improved. I do love these alternate signer dragons. They don't have reprints. And this is a generic 7 synchro that reads, during your turn, when an equipped spell card is equipped to this card, you can draw a card. You can only use this effect once per turn. Also, once per turn during either player's turn, you can target a face-up equipped on the field equipped to this card, and then you would trigger that draw a card again. So that's kind of a plus in certain senses, but in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, you're just synchroing back up. You probably want to turn this up into an 8 and negate. You can coin that phrase if you want, 8 and negate. But when it comes to this card, it's just kind of a cool piece of history, and you do see all the dollar ones have disappeared over time, though. You used to be able to get this at 50 cents. What's the market price even at? Yeah, under $1, and it's slowly creeping up. It's kind of collectible, but is it really? We have to talk about modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Collectibles at some point. Now, let's get into penny stonks. Beals actually, for the secret rare, has gone back up slowly, and I think that it's the highest rarity version, and it's out of a legendary collection, Kaiba collection. This Kaiba collection has aged very well. You have the original gold version, and then the common is also just really strong here. I think it might have its formats again at some points. It's so hard to destroy this and get this off the board depending on how it's being dealt with. But in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. You just target it and send with Kraken, or you used in Girsu, those kinds of things. It's a lot easier to deal with today, but people looking at the past when we're talking modern collectibles, they like this card, and it actually has been slowly going back up. When talking penny stonks, this is kind of a fun one. Lifeless Leaffish. It's out of Rise of the Duelist, so you're racing a clock versus Megatens for such a generic card to be good. When we read this card, if this card's special, if it's just summoned, period, by the way, you can send one fish monster from your deck to the graveyard, except for itself, and then you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 3 fish in your graveyard, shuffle those monsters in the deck, draw a card. Whenever you read this, you just think, wow, generically good for its typing and great for Yu-Gi-Oh! But you realistically have to race a clock on reprints and this somehow becoming good and meta. So while I do think this has high potential, I think this is an example of a very risky penny stonk rather than one you actually want to dip your toes into because, well, it doesn't have really any implications right now. And if something did come out and everybody had ignored this, you can bet it's going to be harder to get and spike really hard. But for now, it's just stuck in there, and it's like a 50-60 cent ultra. It's not just straight bulk, but if you have to have a huge curveball in the meta for this to work out. A good example is actually Kokimeru Supplier being really good with Adam Emancipator before. You can see its market price is $1.44, yet you see a ton of sellers like starting to dip a little bit under that, and then it's still at that price. Amazing generic card within a typing that was doing something in the meta and now in a rogue deck right now. But you have to have something else happening for this to go to the next level. You already had one of the best decks looking at playing this card at the time before the banless curveball, and now you have to think, where will this become good again? Can that deck take back over? What could actually spike it if you were to invest in it? D-Boys. Oh, I forgot to totally bring this up. It got bought out completely. This is not a penny stonk. It's going, gone. D-Boys, it was pointed out on live stream, was gone. I have no clue why this is, what happened. It's a funny collectible. I know people who used to have binders of this back in the day, so they're probably dancing with D-Boys. Blizzard is probably the most talked about penny stonk within my streams and DMs. People ask me what I think about this. And I don't think that a lot of people playing Forbidden Droplets ever pitch a spell, it feels like, and Blizzard can react to that whenever they don't get rid of a spell. And you target a spell card your opponent controls this turn, negate the activated effect of that spell, and spells on the field with the same original name. If the targeted card would be sent to the graveyard this turn, so like if you chain it in activation, they add it back to their hands. So like Droplet, they pay a heavy cost, you're able to send it back, and often they're pitching like 3 monsters with that Droplet, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to be able to respond to Droplet with this card. You can also hit Tactics Talents, and then they're waiting a whole nother turn, and by then, you usually blow them out. They usually need that Tactics to extend. It is a very good card, and if this was a secret rare, I think this would hands down be a $20 to $30 secret rare just because of potential. But maybe in Rise, actually, with how crazy Rise is, it would be $10, kind of like the Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. When it comes to this card, I like it a lot, though, and I don't think that, like, when you're looking at a ceiling of penny stonks, generic playability is a huge factor, and this could come into metagames. It's not a bad buy at all, around the 50-cent to $1 range, which the entire front page is. Speaking of penny stonks I've talked about before that are somewhat generic, you have this generic synchro still sitting around the $1.50, seeing current meta play to still go into calamities. This is something I think you should want access to, and it is still oh so cheap, and as Eternity Code ages, we have not got an unlimited wave. I think you want to pay attention to a lot of Etco Ultras, including this card. Tenki's getting a ton of talk as we get closer and closer to Tri-Brigade. The secret has gone up a bit when we look at it. It's kind of the highest mid-rarity besides the ultimate rare, the ultimate rare being the highest, and then you have other ones that people like maybe the gold will go up because we're getting new gold series. They're not going to look anything alike. And then you have a super rare, actually two super rares. I remember, like, we looked up the special edition for the Fire Fist special edition. It almost looks like a fake Wish product from Konami. It's really funny. But you have two different super, so I think the secret's probably the best penny stonk out of the Tenkis, the highest ability to shoot up besides maybe the gold rare. Maybe people will eat that Kool-Aid instead of drink it. They're just going to eat no water. And then the ultimate rare has been up for some time. There's not a ton of motivated sellers on this one. Oh, it's bought out again. Literally on stream, it was still 118. Nah. It's just going up in price again. They bought it out at the 120 point. If you're doing huge buyouts like these, please use that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying. Wow, I did not think that would be going at the 120 point already. Samorg, Bird of Sovereignty, is also a pretty good penny stock when talking Tri-Brigade. I think this is so underestimated. I think this can be a solid $2 to $3 card. There is so much value when we do talk Dual Overload, but this card has been so low for so long, and I think Tri-Brigade and the looks and the hype coming up, this is a pretty darn good penny stock for what it is. You already have the infinite loop negates, but now you have archetypes that are going to want to dig into this card even further. Swap Frog Ultra Rares are a pretty good penny stock. You see Ronin Totem going to the Stratosphere right now for its super rare, and the common's still up. You see Dupe Frog is there. Swap Frog Ultras, I know they are very much so high in population, but as more people turn their attention towards that, like, I do think it is an okay grab, regardless of the pull and them happening to lose the Frog Brother and extend the handshake meme. I think that this is a good engine, just generically in Yu-Gi-Oh!, and it will have its time again. Now's the time to pick it up while you're paying less than, you know, $1 a piece on one of the main players in the engine. Artifact Dagda, speaking of engines, is really good for artifacts. It allows decks to combo and ignore even playing Sanctum, searching that Scythe, if you have self ways to pop it, such as in Fluffles. This is a great card. There's a couple motivated sellers, but it actually goes up somewhat quickly and has been creeping up in price. I know this is a lot of dual overload cards, but Artifact Dagda I also do believe has a very high ceiling as a penny stock. Now this one is actually up here just because if you didn't know it was high in price, you might want to sell it. There's not even, this has been for days. The demo deck version has been off the market. I always pulled these out of bulk because they only had a couple of printings and they were generically okay. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a dragon, a warrior, or a spellcaster type monster from your deck to the hand. He himself is a spellcaster, and if it's sent in any way from the field to the grave, you get to add those cards, but it's a normal monster. Exodia, Obliterate. This card is kind of cool in general, but I don't think it's worth its actual price point, so if you have these, I think you should be in the market to sell them personally, but do you think this is a penny stock? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm more so featuring it personally. You might have had some money you didn't know about. Time Lords do wrap back into formats. You have the water one being able to take care of back rows, but I like Medion a lot, and it finds its ways back in, and the first edition secrets, for what they are relatively cheap. $3.22, and you have unlimiteds here too, and there's going to be multiple first editions under $5. I like this card a lot. It's one of those ones that has the potential to spike really high. It's just a good look from an old Duelist who remembers things from back back in his day, this is one that does cycle back in, and it's on one of its lowest points, and it is somewhat collectible as there are Time Lord duelists out there, the 5Ds era. Hibernation Dragon is the final one I want to bring up. I don't personally think this is one of the greatest penny stonks, but it does have Dragon Link potential. It was apparently played with rockets early on into their life. It only has one printing from a couple of years ago now, and it reads, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower dragon monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Then also, during your main phase, except the turn this was sent in the graveyard, so grind game, not instant gratification. If you don't control a link monster, so if your board was busted, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target any dark dragon link monster in your graveyard, and special summon it. So it has the ability, I literally just swallowed a fly live on Market Watch. I went straight into my mouth. There's no way I'm redoing it at this point all the way in. Boys, it went straight in my mouth. Oh my gosh. All right, so this card, Papegas aside, this card I feel like doesn't do it what a lot of extenders like want to do, but if it is special summon, you also get recurrence, and that can be any of the baby chaos dragons or whatever you may. This is an interesting card to talk about for that first effect where you do get some instant gratification. So what do you think about this card in Dragon Link? Has it just, you know, it's way not an option, or could things get banned to where this could be okay one day? And it's a nice keep because it's probably not on a reprint radar. That being said, thanks for watching this super long Market Watch. I promised about 2 in 1. Here we are 20 minutes in after I've swallowed a fly. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation. And yeah, between the penny stonks and the market moves, let me know what you think. I also just want to point out, I had a really nice message. This guy messaged and said, from taking my advice, he actually has like supplemented his income during these hard times, like $1,000 a month. You don't have to give back, guys. That's what the channel is for. Only give back if you can, if you want to. You can use the promo codes, or, you know, that's a way to tip. You can do it mutually. You don't have to sign up for the Patreon or donate on streams just because you're making bank off the channel. I just appreciate it if you do. Never should you feel obligated to, though. I make money off having the channel, right? Only do it if you want to, and I super appreciate that, man.